required my name and my dress and my age and what language I spoke, what religion I was, etc. And I learned to do these forms, write these forms in such a way, in such bad handwriting, that nobody could actually, even if I had spelt it correctly, they wouldn't have been able to read it. And most customs officials, because they were, say, in Arab countries, couldn't read Latin script anyway, it didn't make much difference. But that was my only real drawback. I had, during this period, taught myself how to read and write correctly. I suppose it first came home when I was in Japan, and I got a job being an English conversation teacher to scientists from a soap factory. And it really, I was explaining what my family does, what my father does, and they couldn't understand what a caravan. My father was a caravan manufacturer. So I had to sort of, they asked me to spell it for them. And at that point I really got fed up, and I thought, God, I can't really spell this very well, and I'm not sure how to spell it. So that really made me decide that I would, teach myself how to read and write. I found that quite embarrassing. So after that, it took me about 3 months. I got a dictionary, and I started to read books and just did it myself. And by the time I got back to the UK, I was quite, normal, I suppose.
How do you feel now about Neil letting you go with such minimal qualifications?
Yeah, well, I'm often puzzled about that, both to do with Neil and my father, in fact. I don't think I would be very worried if my own children grew up not reading and writing. So I've often wondered about how they could have done that. And I don't really understand it. But neither Neil or my father seemed to have much concern about it. So I think maybe they just felt that I would do it eventually. I think Neil always said that I will learn eventually when I want to do it, and he was actually correct.
Cinema?
Oh yes, there it is. That's it. We used to sit on the steps.
You used to sit through the programme twice.
Sometime.
Can you remember a film that was played there?
Humphrey Bogart. That was the time. Yes.
Well, there are endless
Errol Flynn.
movies.
Errol Flynn.
Yeah, I'm sure we saw them all.
Weren't you surprised by the rather conventional world of university?
In some respects, yes. There were some university students who behaved in a very immature manner, in a way that Summerhillians would have lived out by playing at the age of 11, 12, 13.
And also completely obsessed with the opposite sex, and had a sort of a mean attitude to adults. They looked at them as, it was like them and us, and everything was done behind the adults' backs.
From Summerhill I went to art school, and people would sort of resist doing the work, or resist what the teachers said, and it was very us and them, and that obviously for me was very odd to respond like that. I couldn't see the purpose of that.
Rebellion seems, at that age, is the way that you gain respect from your peers, because you're seen as perhaps empowered by that rebellion, as somebody who's taking control of their lives and going against the flow, and therefore somebody who sticks out and somebody who gains respect. But at Summerhill, that's not the case. A rebellious person is not respected. Is tried to they try to change that attitude. You try to make them understand that is not a productive way to live in a society.
After Summerhill, Warraby went to college and took his A-levels. For the moment, he sells men's clothes in a smart area of London to pay the rent. But his passion is still music, and he hopes to achieve his dream, to become a professional musician.
It all started there, and that is probably the most vivid memory I've got. Just sort of everybody sort of saying, go, 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 and that is really the trigger. If people sort of said, oh, no, go home, don't do that, I probably wouldn't have bothered, you know. I thought, oh, no, but, you know, people encouraged you there.
Lucy knows exactly what she wants to do, work in the fashion industry. However, after Summerhill, she decided to devote an entire year to her parents, so that she could take the time to get to know them better. She is currently attending courses at art school. She's already started making scarves and hats.
I think Summerhill taught me how to live with other people in a confined space. I think you learn to share things and to help. It sounds very sort of hippie trippy, but you know, like help other people and get along with other people. And take responsibility for yourself and for the things that are going on around you, the people that are around you.
After his A-levels, Dominic specialised in biology and is now a laboratory assistant. He's not obsessed by the idea of a career, preferring to live life his own way.
It taught me to value law or value order, value a true democracy, and I think I'd be continually frustrated by the disempowerment the individual has in this country. And that's why Summerhill is so good, because it allows the individual to speak for itself and allows the individual to alter or to influence the community very directly.
What did you want to do when you left Summerhill?
I wanted to own a Citroen 2CV and have a pair of red kickers and be trendy and popular. That's what I wanted.
He has half won his bet. His kickers may not be red, but he does drive a 2CV. After his exams, he was unemployed for a while, hit by the recession. But shortly afterwards, he found a job as a technician in the physics laboratory of a well-known school in Manchester. Do Summerhill children manage to adapt better to crisis situations?
I mean, if a crisis comes up at Summerhill, you don't have adults take over. You deal with it yourself. And, you know, again, it's a learning thing. The more you deal with things yourself, the more you're capable of dealing with them in the future. It's like riding a bike. So I think, you know, emotionally they are better equipped to deal with that sort of thing.
After Summerhill, Danny did a PhD in educational science. She now works in medical training at a London hospital. Her job is to improve communication between doctors and patients.
Summerhill has given me the ability to talk at any level to anybody. I'm not afraid. They are merely people, and I'm merely a person, and we're going to have a conversation. And I would say that gives me an edge, actually. Not the ideas I have, not what I want to say, but the fact that I'm unafraid to say it.
As well as his passion for music and comic strips, Albert publishes books on A.S. Neil. In association with other teachers, he has opened an archive devoted to alternative education worldwide.
I look upon it as a time when I had a training in relationships, in having friends, in investing in people, and in accepting people with all their difficulties as on some level, family, as your responsibility.
But above all, Albert has met up again with Popsy after their separation on leaving Summerhill 25 years ago. In the interim, Popsy had bought a farm, wanting to live a simple life. Today, she is content to cultivate her garden.
I think this has always made me feel very, very strong in my inner life. I mean, I think I probably have felt at a disadvantage in terms of education and worldly things, going out, getting jobs. But it's never really mattered to me that much. You know, I've recognized it, you know, that I do feel handicapped. But I think to have a sort of an inner strength and a certainty about who you are is much more important.
Freya now has a degree in economics and is an industrial consultant giving advice in many countries in the Third World. He is also increasingly involved in the management of community-based projects in Britain.
I think it took me a lot of confidence. I think Summerhill gave me a lot of strength to trust in my own judgment and trust my own feelings.
At Summerhill, Keith wanted to be a doctor. He went to college where he completed a 2-year course in just 1 year. He then went on to university. After qualifying as a doctor, he carried out research in chest medicine. With the help of a grant, he set up an institute for research into heart and lung diseases. Now retired, his hobbies are archaeology, fishing, and playing the clarinet, a pleasure he first discovered at Summerhill.
I think the difference in Summerhill is to understand and have lived by the principles of freedom and the tolerance that comes with that. I think really that's the extra special thing. And understanding how children need to be brought up, being happy while they're being brought up.
After leaving Summerhill, Frances worked as a pediatric nurse before emigrating to Mauritius with her husband, where she developed a family planning association and brought up her 6 children. Her passion for patchwork has stayed with her since Summerhill.
Qu'est-ce que ça vous a appris, l'école, cette école-là?
La tolérance et la possibilité d'être moi-même. Malgré, en grandissant, j'ai dû ressentir, parce qu'il y a des pressions sociales, une fille doit être ceci, ne pas être cela, doit absolument, impérativement être jolie, etc. Et à l'époque, de ne pas trop être brillante, de ne pas trop chercher à faire une carrière. Mais malgré ça, je ne dépends pas de l'opinion des autres. Je peux être moi-même, et s'ils désapprouvent, tant pis.
After attending art school, John started producing comics and children's books. Today, his work is published in Britain and abroad, and he is one of the leading figures in the world of comics.
It's always been considered that people who went to Summerhill lived in this strange kind of detached paradise away from society, and how on earth would they fit into normal life when they left. It didn't worry me at all.
What did Summerhill bring you?
Well, I was happy. I was very happy for 5 years or whatever.
Interior decorator, antique dealer and designer, Léonard, the little Frenchman, enjoys recognition and appreciation in Britain. Back in his native Provence, he indulges his love of painting.
Quand je suis allé à Summerhill, j'étais hésitant, je n'avais pas confiance en moi.